Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Say Something Serious. Today we are with Sara the Medium. We are so excited you're here. She is a medium, a mentor, and really a community builder. Sara, thank you for being here.
Thank
We
you for
wanted,
having me.
oh yeah, we wanted to jump right in by asking you about how you navigate living in both worlds, in the world of spirit. And I also, as like getting to know you over time, see you as a very grounded and authentic person, which I really appreciate about you.
Thank you.
How in your daily life are you navigating both worlds? And do they ever mix unexpectedly? Like, do things sneak in?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I learn all things through trial and error. So it took me a long time to get to where I am now. And I'd be lying if I said I perfected it because I didn't. But I think that throughout my development and I guess the best way to say it would be throughout my development, I just really learned like how to set boundaries, because the truth is that I was terrible at boundaries with living people too before I started my mediumship development. And I realized that I needed boundaries with people here, even more so with the world of spirit as well. And I learned to, you know me, but for those that don't, I'm like a really matter of fact person. I love that you feel how grounded I am, because I think that a lot of people in the world of woo woo can sometimes feel not as grounded, and it can intimidate people. But I feel like I'm grounded and also very matter of fact. So I set my boundaries with the world of spirit like that too. And I'd be like, listen, if you want me to do this work, you have to leave me alone when I'm not doing this work, right? And then it took a lot of trial and error to find out like that didn't work all the time. And certain situations I'd have to do a little bit more work around. One of the things that I can remember in the beginning of my development is I would go to a party, right? And I was at one of my sister's children's birthday parties, and there was this girl there, and spirit was like pointing at her, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? So through doing stuff like that, I was like, I'm never going to be the person to just approach somebody, because I don't think that everyone is prepared for that. So I learned how to be like, listen, there's a time and a place for it. So when I'm in session, we'll do it. That being said, I also let my intuition guide me quite a bit. So it was a little bit of an interesting blend of boundaries and also just really getting clear on what is my own intuition and guidance point, so that I didn't open myself up to the world of spirit 24/7. I would be a puddle on the floor if I did. But also be able to kind of keep it's messy. Some days I do better than others, right? But that's kind of boundaries, 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 boundaries. And when I say that I am a messy learner and I learn through mistakes, whenever I felt like there was a energy leak or there was a little bit more coming through than I wanted, I would learn how to phrase that new boundary, right? Like, okay, you can't give me that. Now, I will say that there are certain people in my life, and my husband is one of them, that no matter what, there's always stuff that's going to come through, because my connection with him is so strong and so apparent. I can't make it not be. So poor him, he has to navigate a bit more, I feel like, of that, because for me, it's just, it's not offensive. It's just annoying. So I just kind of navigate it the best that I can while living this life, right? Like we all do.
Yeah.
Are you in communication with just people that have passed over, or are you also hearing from spirits and angels and entities like that?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So, I've never specifically really prioritized working with angels. I know a lot of people do. To be honest with you, I think that it was a lot of limited beliefs. Like, who am I to think that I can communicate with angels? But I know we all can, right? The way that I practice mediumship and the way that I have evolved into doing it, the way that I do it, I try to bring in as much healing as I possibly can. So when I say my prayer and my intention in the beginning of a session, what I'm doing is setting the intention that it's for what's in your greatest and highest good. Majority of the time, it's our loved ones that are on the other side. Sometimes we have met them, sometimes we haven't, but every once in a while, it will feel different. It will feel like it's coming through as more of like a collaboration of spirits. So I will have like people's spirit team come in that way. But like, I don't accidentally talk to angels. I'm sure that if I intended on it, like I've done a couple of workshops and things where I have done it, but um, I go where I'm drawn, and I've never really been drawn to angels. I love them and fascinated by them, and I do my own little bit of protection and work around it. But entities, the name just freaks me out. I feel like that just sounds like something so scary, right? But like, it's just conditioning of making us think that that's scary. But what is it, right? It could be a good one. It could be a bad one, just like people here. Some people have higher vibrations than others. But usually my intention is, for the most part, strictly mediumship, where I'm connecting to loved ones. But in my soul sessions that I offer, there is a little bit more of like spiritual guidance that comes through. Sometimes I have people's guides come through. But, me being me and being grounded and practical and coming from a science background, when I started doing this, mediumship felt the safest in a way, because that might sound really silly, right? Because it's like, really, it feels safe talking to dead people. Okay. But it felt safe. It felt safe for me because there was this practicality behind it where I could say to you, does that make sense? And you would be able to tell me yes or no. So it's easier for me to build my confidence based off of bringing through things that people could really give validation on, right? Evidential mediumship that I then take from just evidential and create a little bit more of a healing experience for the person that sits with me. Yeah.
I love that. I totally see how that could, like, at least a person that's passed over was recently a person.
Yeah.
There's some familiarity with what kind of entity that is, right? Whereas if you're talking to aliens or angels or
Right.
guides
Right.
or ascended masters, some people are talking to ascended masters. It's
Yeah.
like that is a very a totally
That's
different
niche. Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
of experience. Whereas it's like someone's grandma, you're like, I got a
Right.
pretty good feel of what humans are like, and so
Right. It just felt like it felt like an easier transition for me. And honestly, like, I love all that stuff, but I never really, I am the kind of person that I go where I feel called, and I kind of just go and I ebb and I flow with the way that the world of spirit wants me to show up. And I feel like this is where they want me to show up. So I kind of stay in my lane. I have a tendency to not stay I have a very wide lane. I guess I should say it that way. Like, I stay in my lane, but I like to show up lots of different ways because I get bored of just doing the same thing. Like, there's so much more that I know that I could do and that I can offer, which is why I show up in different ways, right? I do my mediumship sessions. I'll do my soul reading sessions where I kind of blend in a couple of more things other than just mediumship. I do mentoring and teaching. And when I'm teaching all different things because I get bored. It's my Sagittarius moon's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? So I just kind of let it flow. But I have never went that direction. Don't put it in my head. Now I will.
well, we were at an event that you hosted last weekend, and we met a massage therapist that works with angels there. And I
Yeah.
was telling her, like, I've had the same feeling as like, and I always blame it on being Catholic. Like, don't bother the angels. Like, the angels are busy,
I know.
but she's like in full communication with the angelic realm. And so I was asking her about it. And there was one time, like maybe a year ago, where I kept getting messages about angels. And so I asked my guide team, like, if angels are real, if this is like a real thing, will you send me a message? And I went into the grocery store. I live in this like post-industrial nothing town in Massachusetts, right? I went into the grocery store and I come out and there is just this man on the corner playing angelic music on the violin. And I was like, and that I go to that Stop and Shop 3 times a week
Right.
for 20
Never,
years. It's never happened before. And I walk out and I'm like, okay, like I'll stop doubting that this is a thing. I didn't
right.
start working with angels, but like I just wanted to know, like, is this real or not? And they were
Yeah.
like, yes.
I have experience, and I love that. And I love that when it's such a loud in your face thing and that you're able to be like, got it, got it. No more questions, right? When I first started dabbling in mediumship, because I definitely didn't have the intention of getting where I am today. But I had experienced little bits and pieces with connecting, and it just felt so intense for me. I think that's also part of what kind of, I would say, turned me off in a way, because it felt so intense. And the truth is that when you're doing this work, you are constantly healing and evolving if you're doing it right. There's a lot of spiritual bypassing and a lot of people that are not really doing the work behind it. But I'm a Scorpio and I love doing the work. I'm like, let's reinvent myself. Let's find out where I'm broken, right? But when I look back to where I first started, I think there was such a bigger gap between my vibration and angel vibration, right? So it wasn't just limited belief, but I think that everything isn't really black and white. It's layered in dimension, right? So when I think back, I think that this is also part of it. I think that it was such a, oh my, what am I supposed to do with this? They vibrate so much higher than we do. And it felt so intense. That I'm sure that if it happened to me now, not that I vibrate like an angel, because I don't, but I think it will, we could pretend.
I think you do.
Why not? Take it,
right. I'm sure I could meet them, because really what the angels are doing too, just like in mediumship, our loved ones in the world of spirit, they're meeting us halfway, right? So we're never really getting fully there, but they're meeting us. But I think it was such a big gap for me that I was like, holy moly, I am backing off. It was so intense. And, I had growing up Catholic, there's a lot of fear that I had to work through too. And I think that it just for so many reasons, I think that it just felt like, nope. I'm going to stay right here, because little old me, and even just saying that I was a medium felt like such a hard thing. I'm like, I'm just like your normal person that loses her patience if someone was driving too slow in front of me, or, I not so much anymore. I have so much more patience and so much more understanding. Really, when I started developing, it was probably about 10 years ago, or 9 and change, something around there. So we grow and we evolve. That's the plan, right? So, but anyway, it's hard to wrap your head around, because at least growing up, I felt like these people were so special. And then I was like, wait, I don't feel so special.
I feel like it's interesting though, because a huge part of the work you're doing is showing everyone else that they also can tap into this skill with practice, with patience, with, raising your vibration. So, it's possible for anyone.
It is.
Right?
And that's part of why it has always felt really important for me to let people know that everybody has access to this. I think there's a lot of people that like people not to know that everyone has access to it. And I'm the one being like, no, everyone should know how to do it. Even if you're not doing it to do mediumship readings, even if you're just doing it to be able to, trust your own intuition and trust your own self, and connect and feel connected to your loved ones in a way that really just bridges that gap between having them here in the physical sense and having them in the world of spirit, because no one really teaches that connection. So I talk about all the things that most people don't want to talk about, right? But in ways that really help to empower you and help to let you know that we all are so capable. And it always is funny to me when I have someone come to me and they're like, the last person I saw told me I have ability. And I was like, I love how special this makes them feel, but also everybody has it. And some people it's easier to tap in than others, for sure. But everyone has access. And I think the world would be a very different place if everyone had the knowing of how powerful they were. I find it to be so ironic that as a human in this human experience, we think that we have power in places that we lack power, and we forget our power where we do have power. It's like, if you really pay attention in your life and you look at it, it's like, we think we have all this power to change people, but we don't. We have the power to change ourselves. But sometimes we feel like, I can't, I'm so stuck. I don't know how to do it. I've always been this way. And that's just one example. But when you can teach people their own power and their own ability to tap in and to what is greater, whether you want to call it God, spirit, divine, universe, whatever floats your boat. And I love helping people find their own version of what feels true, because what feels true to one person might be a little bit different than what feels true to me, right?
Yeah. I'm curious about the clairs and what comes through the strongest for you, And has that changed over time? And what is that experience actually like? I think that's the thing that I hear from so many people that they're
Yeah.
curious about.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. So I had so many limited belief systems when I first started this. I thought that I had to see things. And I'm not that's not my strongest. My strongest is actually just clear knowing. Like I just know things. And I find that it was much harder to trust that, Claire, because try to explain why you know something when you don't have understanding of how you know it. It's very easy to think that we're crazy, right? Or that we're making it up. But that is my strongest, Claire. I could sit down with someone and I could just know so much innately. And I know that it's coming beyond me. It's coming from me, but it's also coming from beyond me. And it still makes me laugh because people will sit with me and they're like, how do you know that? I'm like, you're literally paying me to know that. Like, this is what I could do. Like, I'm tapping into higher
That works.
consciousness. Yeah. So knowing and feeling are my two strongest. And feeling, I feel that there's a little bit more decoding that needs to happen there, right? So, I really have access to all of them since through my development. I've even had taste, which bugged me out the first time that I ever had that. And I'll tell you that story, but uh, hearing is my least. Hearing and seeing are my two least. Like I will sometimes, most of the time when I do hear, I hear it in my own internal thought or from my own self. But every once in a while, especially if the person I'm communicating to in the world of spirit had an accent or spoke a different language, because they're not communicating to me in English, right? And I think a lot of people have a false sense of understanding there. They'd be like, well, my grandfather didn't speak any English, so how is he talking to you? Because he's not talking to me how I'm speaking to you, right? But they give us a sense of knowing and understanding. But they'll make me hear little bits and pieces so that I know that there is an accent, or I know that they talked very fast, or I know that they had a very deep, hearty laugh. Like I'll hear bits and pieces. And that's kind of how it is for me on a typical reading and a typical situation with hearing as well, with seeing as well. I'm sorry, every once in a while, and I do feel like it also depends on the way that spirit likes to communicate and how they communicate as well. I will like literally like see so much and I get like almost freaked out. I don't want to get stuck there. Like there's this really silly belief system and I know I'm not going to get stuck there, but I think that I used to love scary movies, and there was this one scary movie where there was like astral traveling, right? And the kid was getting stuck. So like this is still in my head, and I know it's not happening to me, but I'll like kind of, my eyes used to need to be closed to see. Now my eyes can be open to see. But the taste thing really got me. During COVID, I never had done readings before on the phone or like virtually. I always just was seeing people in person. And during COVID, I was on the phone with this man. No idea how old he is. I just hear his voice. I'm talking to him. His mom's coming through, and she's talking to me about, it was around Thanksgiving time, and about a dessert that she wanted him to make. But I guess he was planning on making the wrong fruit with this dessert. And I was like, she's making me taste raspberries, but you use blueberries instead. But I literally tasted it in my mouth, and I was so freaked out by it. I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Didn't even know that they could do that, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, surprise. And then I made a joke being like, I hope it's gluten free because I'm tasting it because I'm gluten free. That's the only reason why I remember, because it was such a he was blown away. I was blown away. It was such an interesting thing. But I do feel like I have gained more and obviously strengthened the Claires, but I have gained more. But I would say knowing and feeling are the two biggest. Knowing's my favorite now because it's the easiest. When I just know something, there's no need to um, dilute how it's coming through or fear that I'm saying it incorrectly. Like if they're giving me a feeling, if I'm feeling a physical sensation or if I'm feeling an emotion, there's a lot more decoding that has to happen. So I usually follow it up with a question, and I'll ask the world of spirit, like, am I feeling this because blah, blah, blah. And I do all this internally in my mind. But I just feel like there's more room for me to mess up. So I love when they just make me know things. That's the best.
Easy.
Yeah.
Speaking of horror movies, you kind of alluded to this when we talked about angels, that like not all the things that are up in those vibrations are positive things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have uh, experiences with darker or scarier energies? And is there anything that you actively do to protect yourself from those things when you're reading or opening up?
Yeah. So have I ever experienced anything? Yes. As I told you guys before, I very much learned through like mistakes and messing up and not having great boundaries. So I also think that most people overcomplicate what we need to do to protect ourselves. So I'm not a I feel like I'm not coming at it through a lens of fear. I come at it through a lens of if my intention is good, and I open myself up to it. It's good. I clear my energy a lot. But I might sound totally loony when I say this, but I actually feel like people here, there's a lot more negativity here in the physical realm than there is in the spiritual realm. And I have to clear myself much more often with human beings than with the world of spirit. And it's true. I always tell people like, this is like the bad stuff. Like we're dealing with so, especially right now, there's so much negativity, and it's much more palpable for me. But I have had experiences where I had to learn how to not only set boundaries for myself, but also for my children. My daughter, especially when she was younger, used to see a lot, have a lot of things come into her room. And I was like, all right, well, like, listen, people, like, spirit, whatever. No, like, we're not playing this game. If you want to talk to someone, you talk to me. I set lots of boundaries there. And it was a lot more negative stuff, which was also like, and even if it wasn't negative, it felt negative to her. So to me, that makes it negative, right? Something followed my husband home one time from work, and my husband, bless his soul. I don't know why he's married to me, but I'm grateful for it. But he is so not open to all this stuff. He's gotten much, much better. But I remember he was so freaked out, and I was like, let me just clear it off of you. It's like no big deal. It's really no big deal. I'll just clear it. Right. But when we watch scary movies and we watch everything on Netflix has such low vibration on it. Sorry, Netflix, but it's true. Like you watch it and everything is so high cortisol and low vibration. So whether it's an evil spirit or just a lower frequency, we have to be careful about what we're opening ourselves up to all the time. And like I said, I think it's even more important for us living on the physical plane to have some kind of a system to, make sure that we are clearing our energy. So walking outside, spending time by myself, taking saltwater baths, that's my way of protecting myself. I don't do anything fancy. I've had so many people tell me, oh, you need to do so much more to protect yourself. It's like, do I though? Like, I think I'm good. I think I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I think I'm good. Yeah. When I got offered this opportunity to help promote the movie The Conjuring, and I always loved the series The Conjuring, and I'm like, but it's like, scary and it's lower vibration entities. And, I had a friend of mine for that do a protection barrier on me because I'm like, I'm so low maintenance. I don't want to have to do anything extra. Will you help me, friend? And she did. She helped me. So that was great. But nothing that scared me out of doing this work. The world of spirit, for the most part, is so much more evolved than we are. So there is a lot less negative frequencies than there is here.
It's good to know.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
I think that's a
Yeah.
fear a lot of people have. And like I'm reading the holy books right now. Like that was my project this year. And even in like the Bible and the Quran, like they warn you that like the angelic realm and like the demon realm are the same realm,
Yeah.
and that like you have to be careful how you interact with it.
Yeah. My belief system with this though too is fear is a way to control people, right? So I think that there is a lot of fear that is utilized for control. And I think that when you plug into fear and when you plug into negative frequencies, right, this is what you're going to gravitate towards. So I don't let it take up a lot of headspace for me. And I'm sure that has served me well, right? I start every session with a prayer. I raise my vibration, and I set the intention that it's for the client's greatest and highest good. Now, please, my dad is very religious. My dad always tells me like, you're probably being tricked by the devil. And I tell him, and this I truly believe in my soul, right?
Sweet.
I know, but I tell him, and I feel so deeply in alignment with this. I think that when we are tricked by the devil, or when something is masking itself as good when it is evil, we don't feel better after we do it, right? We might feel good during it, but we don't feel better after. I feel so good after sessions. I feel so good doing the work that I'm doing. Like, this is not like, haha, we tricked her, right? He's like, it's not. When you do something you shouldn't do, right? We have this guilt that comes after. I have never experienced this in the work that I do, and I truly trust that. And again, I think that I look at this with a much more simplistic view than most people. Is evil out there? Yes. But I really do feel like that evil realm is more here than in the world of spirit. Because people that were horrible when they're here, they evolve. They get better. They get enlightened.
And that's just a lot to absorb, but also really helpful. I mean, I kind of take a similar approach to you, like very minimal maintenance in terms of like being clear on your intention, setting it for the highest good. If you feel like a little, like you need to do like a little extra, like walk outside or like meditation after, because you're, whatever, it's pretty simple. One thing I wanted to say is, I did have a reading with you over the summer at some point, maybe July, and I felt like it was so much more than a mediumship reading. Like I didn't know you. It was a 30-minute virtual mediumship session, but I walked away from that feeling like it was a full energy exchange. Like even as soon as I got on with you, I was just like, oh yes, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. And I also walked away with a lot of clarity. It wasn't even just healing and beautiful, but there was a lot of clarity that came through for me. So the gift that you're bringing, something we wanted to ask you about was like, what do you feel is your purpose? And I don't want to like feed it to you, but like what you brought to me in that 30 minutes was way more than just like hearing from the people that I wanted to hear from, which I did exactly who I wanted to hear from with very specific detail, but there was so much more that happened. And we're curious, like, what do you think is the purpose of this gift and what the work that you're doing?
Thank you for saying that. First of all, that it makes me so happy to hear how it is for you and for all of the people that sit with me in session, because I get one side of it, and most of the time I don't remember what happened after. Because when you're in a channel, you're in a channel. And I think that a lot of what I've been doing these past 2 years for myself is really getting clear on how to articulate it, is like what I do. Because when we think about mediumship, I feel like that is like the tip of the iceberg, right? I think that mediumship is a gateway and a doorway into so much more. So I think that's true for everyone that practices mediumship. But I think that what I have come up with as to what my soul's purpose is, and what I really value with the work that I do, and what I hope to give to others, right? And I hope that I keep doing this and I get better at it. But I think that it's letting people feel really deeply seen and acknowledging like who they are, and like letting them feel like they're home. And that's just the very beginning. Like when you sit with me, I think, and when you come into my space, and whether it's a virtual space or it's a space in person, I just want you to feel held, and I want you to feel seen, and like you are exactly how you're supposed to be. And I want to empower people, and I want people to see their strengths, and I want people to heal, and I want to help people become the best version of who they are without feeling like they need to change that. And I think a lot of this stems from my own experience in life. I never felt like I belonged anywhere. I never felt included in community. So it's part of why this community theme is so important to me, because I want to help bring like these misfits, and in a lack of a better way of saying it, like together, and let everyone realize that like we're not meant to be the same. We're all meant to be different. And most of the time, the thing that we think is what makes us less is actually the thing that makes us best, right? Like that is your superpower. Like I always felt so mad that I was so sensitive. Like, joke's on me, Sara. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be able to do this work, right? So it's so hard to articulate it in human words. I feel the power of the work that I do. And this is why I say, like, it's been a journey for me, even just to get the words for it and to articulate it. Right.
I thought those were great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's like a beautiful thing to bring to the world and a
Thank you.
mission to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully I'm doing it. I
Oh,
feel
you're
like
doing
I
it.
feel like I'm doing it, but I just, it's hard because I feel like mediumship is something that is scary too. And it's a big part of why I don't want this to feel scary. I want this to feel light. And I have so many people leaving being like, wow, I feel so much lighter than I did when I came in. And it's not just because their loved ones came through, and whether they're able to figure that out on their own or not is up to them. Right. And I think a lot of this was also me taking a deep layer of understanding that I am not responsible for what they do with what I give them. Right. Like everybody's in a different space. And I used to like really, um, it used to eat at me. Like, I just really want to help everybody, like deeply in my soul. Like, I want everyone, like in this perfect world, if I could create it, which I know I don't have capacity to, but I will try. But if I could help everyone find their power and find their purpose and find what feeds their soul, I have lived on the very opposite spectrum of where I am now, depressed and anxious and so low vibration. And I would have never, I joke and I say, like, if younger me would talk to me now, she'd probably punch her in the face.
Like, shut up.
I should be like, you don't know anything. You don't know how it feels to be here. But I do, because it
Ooh,
was me and I do understand. And it's not an easy process, but I believe in my heart of hearts that everybody has the ability to heal and they just have to really, want to get there. So, you know,
I know
that's,
a big part of what you do is being a mentor.
mhm.
So, can I ask you a question about? So, we did an event with you last weekend, and I was just like, kind of in a fun way, like pulling tarot cards for people, hoping they'll, get to know the podcast or whatever. And some of them were great. Some of them people cried, they felt very seen, they felt very connected. And then there were others where people were just like, nope, like did not hit at all. And what am I, as a practitioner, as somebody who's like trying to offer something, what am I supposed to understand about that experience? Like, is spirit not working through me in those moments? Am I just, because what I felt like was a charlatan. Like, I felt like a fraud and a liar. And, like, you know what I mean? Like, you get really, for the ones that hit, you're like, oh, thank you. Like, thank you for bringing this message through me to this person who needed it. And then when other people are like, yeah, none of that makes any sense to me, you're like,
Yeah.
should I, like, how should I understand that?
You're not doing anything wrong. And this boils down to something that I had just said too, where you're not responsible for how someone is going to understand or receive what you say, right? Now you can sit here and tell me truth, right? That doesn't mean I believe it to be truth. I need to be able to understand to believe it to be truth. So the more that you can embody the fact and deeply trust that what you say is what you're receiving and that it's on them to understand it or not, the easier that it will be to handle these situations. And during my development with mediumship, and still to this day, sometimes I come home and I'm like, that session sucked. Like, what happened? And then the person will email me later, usually, and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but everything that you said made sense, right? But it didn't used to happen that way, right? We are acting as this vessel of information, right? So you're not asking for the information in a way of being like, okay, let's see what we can figure out to tell this lady. Okay, we're going to tell her this. You're receiving the information, you're pulling the cards, you're in that energy flow, right? So as long as the more you deeply trust that what you say is truth and don't doubt it, the less you're going to be met with people that are doubting you, right? It's a frequency match, right? So the more that you can deeply trust that what you have to say is always exactly what you're supposed to say. Always, even when it doesn't hit that way. It's always exactly as you're supposed to say it, right? That is the medicine. When you can do that, that is what changes things. It gets you to have less and less of those. But I always now, I get less in my head when something like this happens, or when I say something and someone can't pinpoint it. And then I have an amazing session after, and I think, thank God I'm not broken. Thank God I can still do this. But the truth is, I promise, it becomes less and less the more that you can embody that what you are saying is truth. And, the truth of the matter is, and we see this all around us in life, is people think they want to know the truth. And then if you show them the truth, they don't want to know it. They don't want that to be the truth. Right. Whether it's they're self-sabotaging, or someone's not being truthful to them, or they want the person that they're with to be the person they're supposed to be with. It doesn't make it truth, but you are communicating through that higher vibration, and you're connected to that higher consciousness that is only going to give them truth. So when they don't want it to be true, they will meet it by telling you that no, no, no.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
But it has no correlation on you and what you are bringing through. But it's really hard to embody it, but you will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
No,
you're
I mean,
hitting a blind spot.
usually I feel at the end of doing something like that, although I'd never done like back to back to back to back public readings like that. Usually they're private, and they're, not as many in a row. But I usually feel, like you said, energized at the end. And at the end, I felt like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like, have I made a mistake? Am I lying to myself? Like, and it wasn't even like all of them. You know what I mean? It was just having 2 or 3 people
I will say too,
that made me feel like, oh my God, like, I hope everything I said to the other people was true.
I'm sure it was. But the other thing that sometimes you have to remember, and if this is your first time doing it in this way, it might not be how you want to practice, right? I didn't offer many readings because I didn't like, how many people were in there and how much energy was in there. It's very
They
easy
were
to pick
like
up on
lined
something
up.
else. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very easy to
Yeah.
pick up on something else. And also, especially in a group, when people are receiving in a group, not everyone can receive in a group setting either. So they are going to be more closed off. I've even seen this happen in mediumship group readings, and sometimes spirit will come through and like, nope, I am not communicating in a group. And I tell the sitter, because I don't filter anything. I'm like, they don't want to communicate to you because this is not a conversation to be had in front of everybody. Some things are just not to be absorbed you're already vulnerable, but in a super vulnerable state in front of people. So I hope that you can learn from it in terms of how you might adjust it for yourself to set yourself up for more success, rather than letting the 1 or 2 people that it didn't hit for dictate how you show up. But this is where it's like we forget where our power lies. You have plenty of power. You just have to figure out how to not let those 1 or 2 people make you question everything. And it's hard, but you can get there. Promise.
Also, like those 1 or 2 people were there together in like there was a closeness to them, and they were listening to each other. It's like there was no privacy between the 2 of them, and maybe they really needed privacy, right? Like it could be so simple.
Yeah.
It could be so simple. And again, like you might just be hitting a blind spot that they're not ready to see yet.
And sometimes you're picking up on things that haven't happened yet. So I'll notice that too. And now I just tell people, just listen and see what ends up happening. Because sometimes we're picking up on timing that hasn't happened yet, and it makes sense later. And I just say, just listen and see, because I know that what I'm getting is true, and it's, you could do what you want with it. That's it.
Now, this is something that you do. Tell us about Mindy, what are you in? Like what would you call it? Like a discovery
Oh, the mediumship development?
class? Mediumship development
class.
Yeah. Tell us about that thing that you offer. And is it in person? Is it online? Like, if people want to experience you as a mentor, how does that happen?
So, mentoring is a little bit different than the classes. It is a form of mentoring that I do in a container, right? So it's a limited number of people, and I'm teaching people how to tap into their own ability because everybody has it. So again, it's not just teaching people mediumship for the sake of doing mediumship readings for people, but it's learning how to get really clear on the way we do receive information from the world of spirit so that we could deeply trust ourselves, our decision-making process, so that we can, understand when things are coming up for us, so it doesn't feel as much like anxiety. And also for people to learn how to communicate to their loved ones that are in the world of spirit. I had a lot of limited belief systems around this too. And I used to tell people, I'm a medium, but I don't use it for myself. Like that made me a bad person if I used it for myself. And I will say I still struggle a bit with like tapping in for myself. I don't do it nearly as much as I do for other people. But it's really deeply empowering when you can learn how to connect to your own loved ones in the world of spirit so that you can feel their presence, feel their guidance. And I do it virtually just because it's much easier for people to be able to log on and watch if they can't make it there live. And we do practicing where we tap into each other's energies and play around. And it just is, I say this from my perspective, a deeply intimate and transformative. I'm always amazed with the amount how spirit. I always say spirit does this beautiful job of making all the right people come together. So it really is very cohesive. It's like I couldn't do it, but I put it out there, and the world of spirit gets the right people to come together, and it just creates a really magic experience all around, I think, for everybody. So the transformation is just being able to learn how to deeply trust yourself. And I did it was an 8-week course where it was mediumship development, and I have another one coming up. I had to postpone it because a loved one in my family passed, unfortunately, and it just kind of threw me off with my schedule and everything. But I have a mediumship in motion, which is basically just one step further and kind of teaching the same idea, the same stuff, but just going one step further into a little bit more practicing and Q&As with kind of what comes up, because everybody is going to experience that level of self-doubt, right? Of like, I felt this, but I didn't know how to follow up the question, or I got this, but I wasn't sure if I should trust it. So we talk through all of that. And I think that this is what was missing for me in my development. So again, I kind of teach from a lens of what would have helped me, right? And where I used to be.
Yeah, I think, I did the 8-week group. It was so much fun. And like you said, like the right people came together. It was so nice. But I think the most important thing I learned in that is like things will come through and it's not one-way communication, right? Like you can ask a question and you can get a different answer, or like you might like hear a song or you might see an image and it's like, okay, is that for me? Like, is that for me to make sense of, or is that literal? You can ask and you will get an answer. Like
Yeah. And learning
wild.
how
I never thought of that.
Yeah. I didn't know. I mean, I had to find out the hard way because I was like, how am I supposed to understand this? And I always use this one thing as reference, but I remember one of my first readings, like spirit showed me a penguin. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what is this? Like, seriously, like I was
That's
like,
exactly where I'm at. Level 1 basics. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
So now
penguin waddling in my mind.
Right. You're welcome. Your loved one's showing me a penguin. I hope this helps. So now I'd be able to be like, okay, does this person connect with penguins? Is there something significant about the black and white on a penguin? Are they usually cold? Is there another, connection with penguin? And pay attention to, all the other layers of questioning that we can ask, right? So before it'd just be like, spirit would be like, here's this thing. And I'd be like, oh, I'm seeing this thing. Right. So now it's learning how to ask, right? Because when we're looking for guidance, right, spirit doesn't give us step-by-step instructions neatly written out. We have to be able to ask questions and lean into the answer with the questions that we're asking. So I teach people how to do this in a really practical way because I am very practical and grounded, and it needs to feel doable. Because if you have this crazy equation that you have to plug in, it's like, good luck. But the easiest place to practice is with other people. in a safe space so that you can trust what comes up. Because if you start doing this only for yourself, there is so much more space for questioning. Am I making this up? How do I know that's what I'm hearing? It's wishful thinking. All those things come into play. But if you're meeting a complete and utter stranger at the end of the class, they're not a stranger anymore, right? But you're connecting with them. You don't really know much about them. You're learning together, but the amount of time we don't share our stories or anything like this. And you're able to pick up on, sometimes loved ones that are coming through, and sometimes it's just intuition that you're picking up on about them. And it's a lot more validating when you could be like, yeah, here's that evidence that this does make sense, right? So I love it because I also love watching people get empowered, as I said, and just feel like this is where you belong because everyone here gets it, right? So creating spaces like this. And it's a little different than my mentoring, because mentoring I do one-on-one. And we kind of work towards a goal, or we work through limited beliefs. It depends on, what the person is looking for. But I help move through that and help them feel supported through whatever it is that they're moving through, whether it's helping build their business or helping to feel supported going through crisis in life. So, yeah, or helping them develop their own ability as well. Yeah.
Do you want to tell Sara about when you read me after taking her class?
Sure, you can tell. I mean, it's hard. I'm like where you were before when I'm like, not me. I'm not it's very uncomfortable for me.
Mindy took your class, and she was practicing, as you encourage your students to do, and she just sat with me and another one of our friends, Lauren, and did saw what came through, and she was able to pull up my grandfather. Pull up. I don't know if that's the right. She was FaceTiming spiritually with my grandfather, and she was trying to get him to validate something. She gave some messages, but she was trying to get him to validate something. And Mindy and I have known each other for a long time, but he had to pick something that she wouldn't know, right? Otherwise it'd be where did this come from? And she was just like, did he give you a pearl necklace? And I was like, yeah. It was very specific that he had given me a pearl necklace when I was maybe 15 years old, and that I still had it. And that was his way of letting, I think, Mindy know, because I already believed, what was coming through was very resonant, right? But letting Mindy know that this is not coming, you're not making this up. Right? This is something you never would have known. I never put I've never worn pearls in my life, but I keep them because he gave them to me, and she wouldn't have known that. And I thought it was really, really cool. And she, I think before your program, probably would not have the confidence to attempt that kind of reading. But I think the way that you structure it with her cold reading strangers and getting that practice in a safe space was all right, guys, can I try this? And she was brilliant.
I love that. And
that's sweet. Thank you.
It's so true that the validation was for Mindy more than it was for you. And I even do this in my sessions, because I'm like, sometimes if something feels generic or something feels I might have known it if I'm reading someone that I know, I always ask for the validation. And you could be specific enough to say, give me something that I would have no idea about, right? I did readings for my two best friends, but the truth is, how often do you talk to your best friends about your dead loved ones? Not often.
No. And I only met him once in all the, 20 something years of friendship. I only met him one time.
Yeah. And
I didn't know his name,
it's not a lore. It's not something I hang on to. It is just a random fact. I'm not, I've got a lot of things from my ancestors that I treasure and that are out in my house. This is in the bottom of a drawer somewhere. You know what I mean? It's not my grandfather's pearls. It's just some random fact from my 15th birthday.
Okay. And it's he's you want random? I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
So
what is even honestly, even saying that, I felt this is not going to be real, it's just very hard.
What is your website where people can look into these classes, or should they follow you on Instagram? How could people get in touch if they wanted to join a class or have a reading?
The best way to do it is follow me on Instagram if they have Instagram at Sara the Medium. And then on there or through Facebook, the same thing. I have a email system that goes out. They can get on my emailing list because whenever I have a class or an event that comes out, I send it out there first. And then I try to be good about putting it out on social media, but sometimes I'm not. So the best place would be to get on my emailing list. To kind of see what's doing and what's going on in my world. I am more active on Instagram than I am on Facebook. There's just something about the vibration and the frequency is just different. Instagram feels a little bit lighter. But yeah, I don't really have a website. I have a booking system that they can get to as well from my Instagram and my Facebook, and my email spits the booking link back out as well if they email me. Sara is spelled without the H. I save people a letter because my last name is so freaking long. It's just Sara the Medium at Gmail. And that would be the best way to kind of find me and see what's doing. Yeah.
Amazing. So that ends this episode, but we are going to stay on with Sara, and she is going to give me and Mindy a little mediumship reading. This will come out in a few days after this episode as a bonus episode. So if you're interested to see Sara work and see what comes up for Mindy and I, listen to the next episode. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.